What up, what up? Welcome on in to a special March Madness edition of Inside Baylor Sports, the official daily podcast of Baylor Athletics. On today's show, we recap the first-round matchups for Baylor Basketball and look ahead to Sunday's games for the Baylor men and for the Baylor women. We'll also hear from Scott Drew and Nicki Collen, along with some comments from players on tomorrow matchups here on the pod. All that and more coming up on the show. Don't forget, you can catch Inside Baylor Sports every weekday. You can also watch the video version for free over at BaylorPlus.com and on the Baylor Athletics YouTube channel. Like, subscribe, rate, and review the pod. Justin Hoff alongside the Baylor Bear insider Jerry Hill. Jerry, let's start with the men. You're on the scene there in Memphis. What's the vibe like around the team right now?
Yeah, Justin, I think there's just kind of a little air of confidence, not cocky or anything like that. But, after going through some struggles, particularly at the Big 12 tournament, where I believe they were like 5 of 24 from 3 against Iowa State and obviously struggled to get the offense going. I think the fact that you were able to come out and really start so well, which has obviously been an issue for Baylor down the stretch here. So the fact that they were able to get off to a good start and then hit 16 threes in that game, I thought that was big. In a game that they were able to control pretty much from the start and just kind of from start to finish took control of that game and never let Colgate get back in it. So I thought that was big that, you never really were, stressed or anything about the game. You felt good from the very beginning. And I think for all of those shooters to be able to see the ball go through the hoop, that was huge.
We saw the pregame, halftime, and postgame speeches from Scott Drew. You can check it out at BaylorPlus.com. That's your exclusive home for all of your March Madness behind-the-scenes content. And, yeah, what a performance that opening game. 92 points. That's a program best in the NCAA tournament. The 25-point win was Baylor's third largest in NCAA tournament history. Baylor's 16 made three-pointers, tied a program NCAA tournament record. That's the kind of start you want, Jerry. And it finally came to me. If we make more threes than turnovers in a game, we've averaged 12 turnovers on the season. More threes than turnovers in a game. I feel like Baylor can win every game the rest of the way.
I'm not so sure that you couldn't say that about just about anybody, though. But that is a tall task. That they did that the other night. But yeah, that is a tall task to try to make more 3-pointers than turnovers. So yeah, I do think that's a great formula for success. But it was good to see so many different guys. Obviously, Jalen Bridges had an unbelievable game, particularly got going there in the second half. But I just thought the team as a whole just shot with confidence. Jacoby and Ray J and Jaden, I mean, they all had good games. And I think that's the key to this team is having that same kind of balance that you've seen in most of their wins, is that it's not just about one guy. It's, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 guys. So I think that's the key for the rest of the way, is they need to kind of keep that balance, keep that confidence that they showed, on Friday night.
Jalen Bridges, 5 threes in this game. At second most in NCAA tournament history. The most since King McClure had 5 against USC 7 years ago. Man, we're getting old. That seems like that was yesterday when King hit all those threes against USC. That Jonathan Motley dunk. They're wearing some of the neon, the highlighter uniforms back then in 17. Jacoby Walter, 19 points for him. A really strong debut for Jacoby and the Baylor Bears. But now all the attention goes to the Clemson Tigers out of the ACC, the Atlantic Coast Conference. We're going to hear that a few times. Tomorrow it's Baylor versus Clemson and Baylor versus Virginia Tech. So it's Big 12 versus the ACC. Here's Coach Scott Drew on the Tigers.
It was a great day yesterday for the Drew family. The only thing I wish was my brother got done playing a little bit early. It was past my bedtime. Other than that, really excited to have a chance to play against a really good Clemson team. Very well coached, very disciplined, a lot of players that play the right way. And obviously, for all those that saw them yesterday, know how good they are.
Couple comments there. Bryce Drew, Grand Canyon, first win in the NCAA tournament for Grand Canyon. A big one for them. The Lopes late at night. And Scott Drew, though, getting ready for Clemson, as are the players. Jaden Nunn on the Clemson Bigs.
They have very, big guards. They got very physical bigs, so we're going to emphasize, front of post and, just trying to be physical all game with the bigs, boxing out and do whatever we got to do to, just to keep them out the game. So, yeah.
And Jerry, when you look at Clemson, you have to look right at PJ Hall, first team All ACC. He's the the straw that stirs the drink for Clemson. Their key player, their best player.
Yeah, I think he is, and he's a finalist for the Kareem Abdul-Jabbar Award, one of top 5 finalists for that award, given out by the Naismith Hall of Fame. So this is a really quality player, and he's good. New Mexico put a lot in trying to limit him, but then it just left it open for other guys like Chase Hunter. Had a big game against them. So PJ is really good, big guy, 6'10 and a half. Baylor struggled some against Colgate's bigs, and these guys are better, and they've got more of them. They've got, I believe, Justin, I think they have 6 guys of 6'8" or taller. Now, they don't have a 7-footer, but they have lots of big guys and, bigger bodies, that kind of thing. So Baylor's got to be able to defend in the low post. And I like Jaden saying, we got to help them out down low. I mean, I think, they can't do a lot. They tried man early and we're really getting kind of beat down in the low post. So I like the fact that, that zone worked so well against Colgate. You'd like to almost see them come out in that. I don't know what the plan is, but, I think they're, particularly against bigger teams like that, I think they're better in the zone.
Well, if you do come out in the zone, you got to have your eye on Joe Girard, former Syracuse Orange. He's their top 3-point shooter, 42%, averages 15.4 points per game. Chase Hunter, also one of the stars there. And if you're going down this roster and you notice Dylan Hunter, former commit to Baylor, ultimately never played here, but playing there at Clemson. His brother is in the starting lineup, Chase, but I know the Baylor Bears know Dylan. He'll come off the bench for Clemson, both guys from Atlanta, Georgia. So, yes, and I would say this, Jerry, a guy we didn't mention on the pod the other day, but I know you're high on, is Caleb Lohner. When you think about Caleb, you think about Josh, you think about Eve, and even John. You got 20 fouls right there. You got 4 bigs that can go up against these guys. I think it's an opportunity for Baylor to use their bench. And I'm okay with the bigs. And I think if this becomes a shooting contest, we know Baylor's going to win this one if it does. And the one thing about Clemson, they do not turn teams over, okay? And they're not going to get up in your grill. They're not going to feel like a Big 12 defensive team, the opposite of a Houston team. And so I really think there's opportunity for Baylor to make more threes than turnovers once again in this game. But Caleb Lohner could be a key in this game.
Yeah, Caleb, has had some really good success in postseason, like we talked about the day before, earlier. And I feel like he could come up big in a game like this, where you've got a lot of bigs that you have to defend. I mean, Clemson can come out in a really big lineup. I mean, they could go like 6'10", 6'10", 6'8" on a front line. So it's good that Baylor has that kind of size that they can go to. They've used a little bit of that 3-forward lineup, when they've got, 3 bigs in there with Lohner and Bridges and Eve. So maybe they use some of that depending on what Clemson does, what kind of lineup they go with. But it's good to know that you have that in your back pocket in case you need to go to it.
Yeah, if you move Bridges down to the 3 and have Lohner at the 4, I think you can really do some work against this Clemson team. And so on some hand, you're happy it's Clemson, compared to New Mexico. New Mexico had some guys that, could scare you, at least on paper. A lot of people thought New Mexico was the team. Clemson has been one of those bubble teams, for many, many years. Missed the tournament last year. It's really Clemson, Arizona State, Wake Forest. There's few teams right there that live around 500 in conference and can barely make it in the tournament each and every year. And Clemson's one of those teams. Clemson looking to have a long run here, and Baylor can put them down, really put the brakes on them. Tigers, they rank 341st in forcing turnovers. And we know for Baylor, they've had some issues with turnovers at times. And so once again, I think if we take care of the basketball, and we make our shots, Baylor should win this one and have success. On paper, you look at it, Baylor a 4.5-point favorite. The better seed here, the 3 versus the 6 chalk going on right now in the West region as we saw Arizona take down Dayton. So Arizona will wait the winner 5:10 Central Time on TNT. But I think Baylor can pull this one off, Jerry. I'm feeling a 7 to 8 point victory here. I think there'll be some close game at halftime, right around there. But I think too much 3-point shooting is what's going to prevail for the Bears.
Yeah, if they get it going in the hole again like they did the other night, I don't think that they would lose again. And honestly, if they can shoot like that, there's not a team, out there that they can't beat. I'm not saying they can beat anybody, but they can compete with anybody the way they shot the ball the other night. And if that continues on Sunday, I think they advance to the Sweet 16 for a matchup against Arizona. I believe it's on Thursday. So, you talked about the turnovers and the fact that Clemson doesn't force turnovers. Again, I think it goes back to Baylor. I think Scott Drew, maybe in the Big 12 tournament or sometime, called them self-inflicted wounds. Baylor can't have those self-inflicted wounds where they're just kind of turning it over willy-nilly. Yes, Clemson's not going to force a lot, but you can't just like throw it around or dribble it off your foot, things like that. Don't do that, and I think you can win and advance past this round.
Baylor 5-3 in the second round of the NCAA tournament under Scott Drew. Baylor going for its 6th Sweet 16 appearance under Scott Drew. The last 2 years, Jerry knocked out in the second round. Yeah. A lot of the players, they weren't here for that. It's a new era with NIL and transfer portal, a lot of comers and goers. There's a lot of free agency moving around out there, but the coaching staff, they were. And so I'm sure that's on their minds and really want to get over this hump. This would mean a lot. The 6th Sweet 16 appearance, that's big time for Baylor, and I know they want this one bad.
Yeah, and I believe it would be Clemson's 5th, but that's all time, and certainly not under this coach. So, you'd like for Baylor to get back to that level because, I know we've talked about before, but that's the expectation level. The expectation level is not just to get in the NCAA tournament. It's to advance. It's to get to that second weekend. It's to hopefully get to a Final Four. It's to hopefully, take down the Nets and win a national championship. That's the expectation. It's no longer just to get in the NCAA tournament. So you really need to get into that second weekend and feel like you're really in the tournament and kind of part of the whole March Madness thing.
And you're also thinking about 25 wins. That's just another icing on the cake. Bears are aiming for a 7th 25-win season in the Drew era, the 4th in the last 5 years. You think about the winning right now, a number 9 overall seed this season. Baylor, the only school in the country to be a top 10 overall seed in each of the last 4 NCAA tournaments. No other school has been better than a 14 in that span. And so, you just think about Baylor and what they've done the last 5 seasons with a national championship, multiple number 1 seeds, multiple 3 seeds. And on paper, on chalk, if you do chalk, they're supposed to get to the Sweet 16, right? They're supposed to get there for a matchup against Arizona, a future Big 12 conference member, a future rival to kind of start that rivalry. And out in LA at the crypto.com arena. A lot of fun can be had there, but you got to get through Clemson. It will take a good performance from Baylor and looking for those 3-point shots. And finally, as we before we jump over to the women, really just think, hey, if this game gets down to a close game, Baylor has been in a lot of close games, and you use all that experience on top of the fact this is a win or go home situation. And I really expect a lot of first to the floor being the Baylor Bears. Expect those guys to come out with a lot of energy and hopefully put on a performance to let the whole country know that Baylor is here for March and for a long run.
And we've talked about kind of the lack of NCAA tournament experience, except for a very few of the guys. Ray J. Dennis finally getting his first NCAA tournament game. Jaden Nunn, it was his first NCAA tournament win. That's such a cool thing. And I know these guys are really motivated and geared up to try to get to that second weekend. I thought Jacoby Walter, for a freshman, played great. What a great debut performance for him in a first NCAA tournament game. And then Eve obviously was dealing with the back issue, but fought through it, played 16 minutes, got 9 points. And I think he'll be in better shape this next game. They've done some treatments and stuff, and I think he'll be ready to go and ready to play Clemson because we need him against those bigs for Clemson.
And, hey, go at those guys. We should be more athletic. We're more athletic than Clemson. Yes, they're big. They're physical, but we should be more athletic. Get those guys in foul trouble. You get P.J. Hall in foul trouble, it could be lights out for the Tigers, their star player. And how about this one, Jerry? Scott Drew. So there's been some of the comments and some of the questions there. On the opening day, one of the media guys, I was a little bit like, is he at the right arena? I'm not sure what kind of bad intel he got, but he asked the players, how does Coach Drew stay so even keel? And the fact that he's not very energetic. And I was thinking to myself, what on earth is he? Has he not seen Scott Drew? I mean, this guy, I've never seen a coach that's more motivational, more energetic, not even keel than Scott Drew. And I love every bit of it. And that's what you want in a coach. But I don't know if you've seen that or heard that there. I think there was a couple questions. What's going on there?
Bad intel, like you said. I think I don't know who this guy was listening to, but like, why would you even ask that question? And the players were even like, what are you talking about? This guy is the most energetic, most positive guy I've ever been around. So the players kind of knew how to answer that. But yeah, I don't know where that question even came from, but my gosh, I don't know that I've ever seen a more energetic, more upbeat guy than Scott Drew. I mean, he's not like a yeller, a barker, that kind of thing. He doesn't like jump on the players like that. So maybe that's what you were basing it on. I don't know. That's not how he coaches. But man, he can bring the energy. We know that. Like, we've seen the energy. And so, yeah, I did. I thought it was funny just because the players were like, what are you talking about? Dude, have you not seen this guy? So, yeah, I thought it was funny.
Jerry, you thought it was funny. I wasn't thinking it was funny. I was like, what is going on there? But Jerry, as a working member of the media, you're there. You have a responsibility. You're going to need to pull this guy, whoever he is, aside and let him know, right? Let him know that that's not Coach Drew. I mean, Coach Drew would chest bump. I mean, he'd do everything. He's not going to do what Muscleman from Arkansas did, jump up on a table and rip his shirt off. He isn't going to do that. But short of that, I mean, he's going to drink 4 or 5 cups of coffee a day. I mean, it's just it amazed me.
I mean, us media, we're not always the smartest. I'll fess up to that. But yeah, like I said, I just hope it was bad information. Maybe he was getting him confused with somebody. But man, don't ever call Scott Drew. Don't ever say that he's not that energetic or whatever. I'm like, come on, guy. This is one of the most energetic guys you will ever come across.
Yeah, even Ray J. Dennis gave that media guy an eye roll, and as did I. I did about 3 or 4 because I had to watch the video. So, all right, let's keep it moving. Baylor women, big game tomorrow night. We got a 4-hour block of 2 games, and thankfully they're not playing at the same time between the men and the women. But Nicki, Collen, and crew taking on the Virginia Tech Hokies, the host site team, the number 4 seed. It'll be a packed house. Nicki, Collen here on what Virginia Tech looks like without star center Liz Kitley.
Well, I think, we in our league, like playing against Texas after they lost Rory, there's kind of that transition period of figuring out how different or how similar do you plug someone in and play the same way? Do you play a little bit differently? And so I feel like, they were kind of in that phase in the ACC tournament of figuring it out a little bit. But obviously, I thought yesterday they were incredibly poised against the press, got good shots, made shots. And so obviously a team that is really, really good from the 3-point line.
That's an understatement. And Nicki, Collen, her team's pretty good too from the 3-point line. Both teams really good, and it could turn down to a 3-point shooting contest, which I like, by the way. I like those kind of games. Jerry, how do you see this one playing out? Certainly on the road will be a challenge, but much like the men, the women looking to advance to the Sweet 16 for the first time since 2021 really want to get over the hump as well.
Yeah, and I think still Liz Kitley not being there, I think Virginia Tech was seeded based on Kitley potentially playing. So I think the fact that she's not there, regardless, I mean, they played really well against Marshall. Let's not take anything away from them. They won that one going away. I believe it was 92-49 or something like that. I mean, they just destroyed them. So they're good without Kitley. But guess what? They're not as good with Kitley or without Kitley. So I look for them, I look for Baylor to be able to do some things against them that they wouldn't be able to do with Kitley in there. So, I think if Baylor, again, can shoot like they did in the first game against Vanderbilt, I think they've got a great chance to advance to that Sweet 16, go to Portland, and hopefully take another step. So, yeah, I think the way that they played in that opening game against a Vanderbilt team that already had a game under its belt. So I was really impressed with the way the Baylor women played in that opening game.
Yeah, I mean, Virginia Tech and Marshall, as you said, the score, you could just say that was a lot to a little. Okay. And don't even say the numbers. But yeah, Tech got the win, and Baylor looked really good against Vanderbilt, took care of business there, shot the ball better. I thought Sarah Andrews played really well. Bella Fauntleroy, look out. And I think after the game, Nicki Collen had said that Bella's, ceiling, the sky's the limit. And I'll just tell you this much: Bella and Bugs, both them. I can see visionary. I can see into the future here, Jerry. Picture it. They're going to be first team all Big 12 players before their days are done at Baylor. We've seen glimpses, right? And I think we saw it against Vandy. And if Bella and Bugs, if those two players can really come to play and play their best basketball, I can definitely see the Bears getting by the Hokies.
Yeah, I was really impressed with Bella. I thought that was a great game by her, really shot the ball with confidence, and that was such a big boost for this team. They needed somebody to kind of step up and do that, and Bella was the one. Bugs, I thought, played well. But, watching that game, Justin, Baylor wasn't at its best. I kept seeing, missed layups and things like that, maybe even some miscues on defense. So I know they can play better, but they still won going away against a good Vanderbilt team. So again, I think this is a Baylor team that's got to be playing with some confidence. Bella and I think the rest of the team got in the gym, got some shots up, and gained that confidence that maybe they didn't have in the Big 12 tournament.
Yeah, and both teams. I mean, once again, we've said it all season long. The women and the men are very similar. Both teams like to shoot the three ball. Both teams have been up and down with the turnovers. Both teams have incredible ceilings. And, the floor was kind of the second round for both teams. And so they've made now the floor, and now they're looking up to the ceiling and trying to, pick up a big win. I think right now you look at this game, Virginia Tech, a 3.5, 4-point favorite. It's going to be a sold-out crowd. Baylor's been there before. You look back to the Texas game. I love that Nicki mentioned that. That was on the road back in December, a huge win. The home win against Utah, a fully healthy top 10 Utah, which is not what they are right now. They won that game too. So we know that Baylor can win this game. I think Baylor does come up with the victory. I think it's going to be real tight. And really, it's going to come down to a couple things. Yeah, the three-point shooting is key, but who wants it more? Who wants it more? And can you finish? Because I think Baylor will have an opportunity to carry a lead in that fourth quarter and just got to hang on to it, Jerry. Hang on to it and get to the Sweet 16.
Yeah, you touched on it, Justin, but I think they got to be able to handle that crowd. They got to be able to handle the atmosphere because, like you said, I think Virginia Tech will have it packed out, and they're going to have to deal with that. They're going to have to listen to the noise, and they're going to have to get over that. So I think if they can do that, if they can handle the noise, if they can maybe shut the crowd up, I think that's going to be a key. And if they can do that, they can get past Virginia Tech and move on to the Sweet 16, like you said, for the first time in 3 years.
And after the game, and Bugs talked about this too, and so did Andrews, that, we want to shut the haters up. And there's always going to be haters. And you think about the 13, 14 football teams, Baylor football, we're super excited to have those teams come back next fall. But they had a lot of haters, and they put that, on their back and really carried themselves. The fact that others didn't think they would win. And there's a lot of those people out there right now thinking about that with Baylor women's basketball and the fact that they're an underdog. They're on the road. They're not the host school. Kitley's out, but Vatek's still going to win. They're hearing all the noise. And so you can shut that all up with coming out there with a great win. We talked about who wants it more. And this stat, there's a lot of stats out there you can look to, but this stat is so strong, and it's about rebounding. The Bears, they out-rebounded Vanderbilt 39-34, but the Bears are an impressive 21-1 when out-rebounding their opponent this season. 21-1. Just got to win that rebound margin. Sounds so easy, but one way you do that, Jerry, stay out of foul trouble, because your key rebounder, Asia Blackwell, if she's on the floor, she is going to out-rebound Virginia Tech. You think about Vatek, their freshman had a really good game, Strack, 17 points, but she's a freshman. You're going up against Asia Blackwell, Dre Edwards. These are seasoned vets. that have been through the wars, even Bugs as a sophomore. If you can stay out of foul trouble, you win that rebounding battle. That will propel Baylor out to Portland next week.
And I do like the fact that Baylor does have some of that experience with them. It seems like still there's a lot of new players, young players, and things like that. But like you said, when you're talking about Asia Blackwell and Dre Edwards and all that experience, I think that's going to be a big factor in this game. And like you said, if they don't get in foul trouble, if they're still on the floor, I think, Asia can get every rebound out there. So I think that will be a key factor is, can you stay out of foul trouble and stay on the floor?
And defending the three, Dariana Littlepage Bugs and Sarah Andrews on Baylor's success defending the three ball.
Our coaches really emphasize just being there on the catch and noticing, being aware of our shooters. So if we know we're playing a team full of shooters, we just have to be a lot more aware and just honestly being aggressive and staying alert of where those shooters are on the court.
Yeah, I think I'm piggyback off of Bugs, being able to find those shooters. We're athletic enough to, close out and get back in front when they try to blow past us. So just being there on the catch and making them try to blow passes downhill.
Three-point shooting is a key in this one. Vatek, especially without Kitley, is going to rely on the three ball, particularly if they get behind. They're going to try to make a lot of threes. There's players on that team that Nicki had said 60% of their field goal attempts are threes. Some are 90%. They're almost exclusive three-point shooters like myself back in the day. Never wanted to get hit, so you just stand out there 24 feet away from the rim. You're not going to get hit there too much unless you're Jacoby Walter and you draw some three-point fouls. He's great at that. But Baylor has held its opponent to below 20% shooting from three-point range in 3 of the last 5 games. Now, I think it's going to be really difficult against Vatek to get them that low, but I don't think we have to keep them that low. Amore is a big one. I mean, they have multiple guards that can shoot the three. They made 10 against Marshall, and so that will be another key, closing out on the shooters and then going after that rebound if they miss and going the other way.
Yeah, and make them contested threes. They're, like you said, they're going to shoot threes and they're going to make some, but make them contested threes. Don't let them stand out there and shoot wide open threes, because I'm thinking if it's you, I would let you stand out there and shoot threes all day, and I don't think I would lose that game. But they've got some actual shooters. I'm sorry, I'm not trying to be a hater, but I could let you shoot out there all day and I would still win that battle.
Everyone's got haters. Bugs
Right.
Andrews got haters. I got a hater right across the way. I'm looking at him.
Haterade.
Yep. Well, hey, you need some of that. You need some self-motivation. We know from The Last Dance, MJ made up his own haters, and it helped him, win 6 titles and be the GOAT of all time. But yes, so Jerry, this is to kind of wrap it all up. 5:10 tomorrow. TNT, the Baylor men taking on Clemson out of the ACC, and then at 7:00 right after that game on ESPN, the Baylor women taking on Virginia Tech from the ACC. It doesn't get any better than this in a 4-hour stretch. 2 elite basketball programs going for the Sweet 16. I'm fired up. I know my plans for Sunday night. Nobody bother me. I'm going to have my phone charged up, ready to go, and I will be texting you multiple times about both these games. Book it.
I know, and I've got it ready. I may just power down on my phone during those 4 hours so I don't have to hear from you over and over and over again. I already know what you're going to say. Like when I'm seeing the game and I'm watching the game and you're sitting there texting me, I know before the texts come in what it's going to say. So yeah, but I think this will be a fun night. Like you said, 4 straight hours of it. And hopefully we get 2 wins out of that. Send them both out west. Let's go west. And get the men in Los Angeles and the women in Portland.
Love it, Jerry. Yeah, if you turn off your phone, I'm going to email you. I'm going to be that guy. Okay, but yes, I'm looking at turnovers, threes, a lot of different things. Jerry and I have known each other for nearly 10 years, so we can almost finish the other sentence. So, Jerry, really appreciate you, man, and enjoy Memphis. Go get some ribs. And stay away from the mosquitoes. I went to West Memphis when I was moving down from Morgantown to Waco, Texas. I stopped in West Memphis, and I know mosquitoes and bugs are really bad there in Memphis, so stay away from that.
Now, West Memphis is actually Arkansas, right?
It is, but it's also strange.
Right there,
It would not be in Tennessee, but yeah, it's just across the border, but a lot of bugs going on out there.
Oh yeah, yeah. It's a buggy place, but Memphis is kind of a fun town. I've enjoyed being here and look forward to it. And like I said, I want to leave here with a win, and get the men to LA and let's see what they can do out there.
Hey, got to ask you this before we hang up and
Yes, sir.
move forward. Bryce Cherry, you were riding with Bryce Cherry from Waco to Memphis. I was a little concerned about that ride.
Yeah.
How'd it go? Was it too long? You guys made it there safely.
We did, and both of us we didn't kill each other. Kind of like you and I. There's some mixed feelings there that we might kill each other. We might get along great. It was a good trip. It was about 8 hours in the car. Made a stopover in the birthplace of Bill Clinton, Hope, Arkansas. Had a little lunch there, and then made our way the rest of the way. So, yeah, we survived, and we still like each other, I guess.
Okay. Well, we know we wouldn't survive. I don't do the speed limit.
Right.
And I don't do pit stops. We're rolling. We're getting to Memphis. So, hey, Jerry, I appreciate you. Go get those wins tomorrow. And that'll do it for this special edition of March Madness here on Inside Baylor Sports, a Sport and Story production. Thanks for listening. For Jerry Hill, I'm Justin Hoff. Have a great weekend, and Sick 'em Bears.
Sick 'em Bears.